Number 1, $28,000. You're 23 and the number is $28,000. That's what the offer letter says. Salary before taxes, which means $1,847 every 2 weeks after they take federal, state, FICA, the health insurance you can't afford not to have. You signed it anyway, because this is what English majors with good grades and no connections get. The apartment costs $1,100 for your half. Utilities maybe $80, groceries, if you're strategic about it, $240 a month. The student loan payment that started 6 months after graduation is $310. You do the math on your phone at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, lying in bed with the calculator app open. After rent and loans and the train pass and the phone bill, you have $380 left for everything else. You buy the $4 coffee twice a week as a treat, which you track, which you think about. Your coworker mentions brunch and you say maybe, which means no, which she understands because she makes the same thing you do. There's a wedding in May, your college roommate, and the flight alone is $320. You can't tell her you're not coming without explaining why. So you buy the ticket and eat rice and eggs for 3 weeks and tell yourself this is temporary. Everyone says this is temporary. You're building something, gaining experience, paying dues. The associate position above you makes $52,000, and that person has been there for 4 years. Number 2, $52,000. You're 27 and you changed jobs twice to get here. The new company gave you $52,000 base plus a 5% annual bonus if the department hits targets, which it did last year, which means an extra $2,600 pre-tax in March. You moved to a 1-bedroom alone, $1,650 a month, because living with strangers at this age felt like failing. The student loans refinanced down to $280 monthly, which helps, though the principal barely moves because most of each payment is interest. You have $847 in savings after 2 years of trying. The company offers a 401k match up to 4%, and you contribute exactly 4%, which is $173 a month you don't see, which financial advisors call smart, which feels like money disappearing into a theoretical future. Your manager makes $89,000 and has 2 kids and says things like, "We're all tightening our belts this quarter," while wearing a watch that costs more than your monthly take-home. You buy a blazer for $160 because every meeting reminds you that presentation matters. Your dentist says you need a crown, $1,400 after insurance, and you put it on a credit card with 18.9% APR because the alternative is not getting it. You're eating better now, going out on Fridays, splitting appetizers and drinks, spending $45 and trying not to calculate what that $45 could become if you invested it for 30 years. Your friends talk about buying property, and you nod because what else do you do? The down payment alone would take 8 years to save at your current rate, assuming nothing breaks, assuming you don't get sick, assuming the market doesn't move faster than you can chase it. Number 3, $78,000. You're 31 and the title is senior specialist. The salary is $78,000 plus a 10% target bonus, which you hit, which brings it to $85,800 in a good year. You moved for this job to a cheaper city where a 1-bedroom costs $1,280 and people think that's expensive. The student loans have 6 years left, down to $214 monthly because you're finally hitting principal. The 401k has $34,600 in it, which sounds significant until you model it forward and realize at this trajectory, you'll have maybe $680,000 at 65, and you'll need at least double that to not eat cat food. You increase contributions to 8%, then 10%, and every percentage point feels like choosing between future security and present living. You buy a car because the city requires it. Used, $16,500, financed at 5.2%, $310 a month for 5 years. Insurance is $134 monthly because your credit score is good, but not excellent. Your parents need help. Nothing dramatic, just $200 here, $400 there, the water heater, the property tax bill. Things they didn't plan for because they assumed their retirement would be enough. You send it without telling them how it impacts your budget, without mentioning that you're 31 and have $2,150 in accessible savings. A friend from college starts a company and asks if you want to invest $10,000 for 2% equity. You say you'll think about it. You don't have $10,000. The opportunity closes and the company raises $3 million 6 months later, and you calculate what 2% of that would have been worth and file it away under things that happen to other people. Number 4. $125,000. You're 35 and you left the stable job for a startup. Director of operations. $115,000 base plus equity that might mean something if they exit, which they say they will in 3 to 5 years, which you've learned means maybe never. The salary jumped to $125,000 after year 1 when they raised a Series B and needed to retain you. You live in a 2-bedroom now. $2,100. Because you need a home office. Because the hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. most days, and the separation matters. The student loans are paid off. You max the 401k at $23,000 annually because you can, finally, and because the tax deferral makes sense at this bracket. Your savings account has $31,400. You could buy property with an FHA loan, 3.5% down on a $340,000 condo, but the maintenance fees are $480 monthly, and you're not sure this city is permanent. The equity package is 0.4%, which is 40,000 shares at a 40-cent strike price, vesting over 4 years. You model scenarios on weekends. If they exit at $400 million, your shares are worth $1.6 million pre-tax. If they exit at $100 million, it's $400,000. If they don't exit, it's nothing, and you spent 4 years building someone else's company. Your college roommate who went into consulting is a VP now, pulling $340,000 total comp. And when you meet for dinner, she pays without looking at the check. You notice. You file it away. The gap between your income and hers is wider than the gap between you and someone making $28,000. At this level, you're comfortable, but not secure. One bad health event, one market crash, one startup collapse, and you're back to splitting appetizers and calculating. Number 5. $280,000. You're 39 and the startup exited for $190 million. Your equity converted to $760,000 pre-tax, which became $456,000 after federal, state, and AMT. You took $156,000 and bought a condo outright. 2-bedroom, good school district, even though you don't have kids, because property values track school quality. The remaining $300,000 went into index funds and municipal bonds, because the internet said diversification. You stayed through the acquisition. VP of strategy now. $210,000 base, plus $70,000 annual bonus, plus refresher RSUs worth approximately $80,000 vesting over 4 years. Your total comp is $280,000 and climbing. The 401k maxes out. The backdoor Roth gets funded. You put $48,000 annually into a taxable brokerage account. Your parents retire, and you send $1,200 monthly to supplement their Social Security, which you don't mention to anyone because talking about helping your parents makes people uncomfortable in ways that talking about helping your kids doesn't. You're single, no dependents, low overhead, and the money accumulates faster than you thought possible 6 years ago. A college friend launches a fund, minimum buy-in $50,000, targeting 18% annualized returns in microcap biotech. You wire the money. Another friend is raising for a PropTech Series A. $25,000 gets you in at the angel round. You commit. The risk tolerance changes when the base is covered. You're invited to meetings that start at 7 a.m. and rooms where decisions about other people's budgets get made over breakfast. You notice who speaks first, who gets interrupted, how consensus forms before anyone votes. The language is optimization, efficiency, realignment. The outcomes are 11 people losing their jobs, which is unfortunate but necessary, which everyone agrees to without naming the 11 people. Number 6, $520,000. You're 43 and the title is Chief Operating Officer. Base salary is $340,000. Annual bonus targets 60%, but hit 75% last year. Equity grants refresh every January at $140,000 annualized. Total comp last year was $520,000 after everything vested. You bought a house, $890,000, Put down $400,000. Finance the rest at 3.1%, because mortgage debt at that rate is essentially free money in an inflationary environment. The property appreciated $170,000 in 18 months. Your investment accounts are at $1.9 million. The Microcap Biotech Fund returned 31% year one. You increased allocation to $180,000. The PropTech company is rumored for acquisition. Your angel stake could 6 times. You're on 2 advisory boards, $40,000 annually each, 4 meetings a year, mostly listening to founders pitch strategies you've seen fail before. You don't tell them they'll fail because they need to learn it themselves. Because your job is pattern recognition, not prophecy. The CEO floats the idea of going public in 18 months, which would make your equity package worth approximately $4.7 million at a conservative valuation. You hire a wealth manager, 0.75% AUM, because tax optimization at this level requires expertise you don't have. She suggests a donor-advised fund for charitable giving, explains how appreciated stock donations provide better deductions than cash. You transfer $60,000 in RSUs, get the write-off, distribute $15,000 annually to causes that sound important in the abstractions they're described with. You're in rooms now where someone mentions restructuring 140 jobs across 3 offices, and the conversation is about optics and timing, not the 140 people. You recognize the distance between language and impact. You participate in the language. Number 7, $1,240,000. You're 47, and the company went public at a $2.8 billion valuation. Your equity converted to $6.1 million across the lockup period, which you sold in tranches, paying 37% federal plus 9.3% state on the short-term gains, because some vested less than a year before IPO. You netted $3.2 million after taxes. The base salary is $480,000 now. Bonus hit 110% of target. RSU grants refresh at $420,000 annually. Last year, total comp was $1,240,000. You bought a second property, $1.6 million, 20% down. Rented out for $6,400 monthly, which covers the mortgage and maintenance. The investment accounts are at $5.8 million. You're in venture deals now, $100,000 minimums, 6 active positions, 2 already underwater, 1 tracking for a 4 times return, 3 too early to know. The wealth manager suggests a trust structure for estate planning, explains how irrevocable life insurance trusts remove assets from your taxable estate. You fund it with $50,000 annually. Your parents need full-time care, $8,400 monthly for the facility, which you pay because the alternative is unacceptable and you have the capacity. You're on a nonprofit board. Expected contribution is $25,000 annually, which buys access to other board members who run funds, manage portfolios, know which deals are opening before they're announced. You're traveling for work 14 days a month, accumulating hotel points and airline status you don't have time to use. The CEO mentions succession planning in private, says your name is on the short list, which means CEO track, which means $3 million to $5 million total comp if you make it. You're modeling what that looks like, what it requires, who gets displaced. The person currently ahead of you has been there 9 years, built relationships you don't have, but the board likes your numbers better. You know what happens next because you've seen it before. The language will be reorganization, strategic fit, mutual decision. The outcome is someone's career stalling at 51 because you're more valuable to the trajectory. Number 8, $2,940,000. You're 51 and you're the CEO. Base is $850,000. Target bonus is 150%. Last year, it hit 180%. Equity refresh was $1,670,000 in RSUs vesting over 3 years. Total comp last year was $2,940,000. Your net worth is $14.7 million. The house is worth $2.3 million, no mortgage. The rental property appreciated to $2.1 million. Investment accounts, venture positions, and liquid assets total $10.3 million. You're in the room where the board discusses margin expansion, which means identifying $18 million in cost reductions, which means 240 positions across 4 divisions. You present the plan, field questions about severance packages and transition timing, approve the final numbers. The language is portfolio optimization. The people are somewhere else in the structure, receiving emails, hearing from managers, updating resumes. You don't see them, and they don't see you. The analyst coverage after the announcement is positive. Stock up 4.3% because the market rewards efficiency. Your RSUs gain $71,000 in value that day. You're on calls with institutional investors, private equity firms circling for an acquisition, activists pushing for strategic alternatives. Every conversation is modeling leverage, risk-adjusted returns, shareholder value creation. You buy another property, $3.4 million, portfolio diversification. The wealth manager explains how real estate provides non-correlated returns and depreciation shields. You're invited to a conference in Singapore, private aviation, suite at the Raffles, meetings with sovereign wealth fund managers who control $840 billion and speak about markets the way meteorologists speak about weather. You recognize patterns in their questions, offers forming before they're articulated. One suggests a board position at a portfolio company, $180,000 annually, 4 meetings, access to their network. You accept because the network is the asset, not the cash. Your parents pass within 6 months of each other. The estate is small. The house, some savings. You handle it without needing any of it. You write the checks for the funeral, the estate attorney, the care facility's final bills. You don't think about the cost, because cost at this scale is abstraction. Somewhere below, a new analyst starts at $87,000, thinking this is the beginning, thinking the path is clear. You remember thinking that. You know what the path actually requires, what gets traded, what becomes impossible to see from inside the altitude. The board meeting is Tuesday. The market opens tomorrow. The question is always, what happens next?